Nebraska, people are dealing with the new legal landscape this week.
More than 100 new laws went into effect this week. KTIV's Gabriela Quinones breaks a few of those down for us.
The laws affect several areas of state law, from professional and amateur martial arts and school athletics to veterans' health and support. One law establishes a suicide mortality review team in the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs. The suicide review team will develop a suicide mortalities data collection system. That includes conducting an annual analysis of the incidences and causes of suicides in Nebraska during the preceding fiscal year. The team would also develop protocols for suicide investigations for law enforcement agencies, prosecutors, and social service agencies. The team will also study the adequacy of current rules and services to determine the changes needed to lower the incidences of preventable suicides, then decide what steps to take to make those changes. And the team will also educate the public about the incidences and causes of suicide and how the public plays a role in preventing these deaths. The team consists of a director and representatives from the Nebraska Violent Death Reporting System, Nebraska Local Outreach to Suicide Loss Survivors, and from Division of Behavioral Health of the Department of Health and Human Services. The Stand With Women Act went into effect this week as well. The law requires K-12 and post-secondary students to belong to sports teams that align with their sex as defined by law. Co-ed sports remain unrestricted, and girls may play on male-designated teams if no female-only option exists. In order to participate on a team designated for boys or girls, the student will need to provide confirmation of their sex on a document signed by a doctor or under the authority of a doctor. A person born with a difference in sex development will have accommodations under the Americans with Disabilities Act. The assistant director of the Nebraska School Activities Association says the NSAA gender participation policy, which was adopted in 2018 before any law on the subject, is no longer active. The initial policy allowed transgender students to participate on teams that aren't consistent with their birth gender if they provided proper documentation regarding their transition. The NSAA Gender Participation Committee received 8 applications from 2018 through the end of last school year under this policy. State officials say any information about the details of an application won't be shared to protect the privacy. Keep record of how many students will be impacted by this new law, and they are following state and federal law. Gabriela Quinones, KTIV News 4.